You guys want to hear something absolutely insane? I have taught over 150 dentists how to start doing clear aligners, and they all made the same mistakes that I did when I was starting out. This was me when I first started. Probably 1 or 2 cases a month, didn't really know what I was doing, but then I identified and fixed those mistakes to go on to generate over 500K in clear aligner treatments in just 18 months. And I'm showing this all to you to show you that this actually works. Because if I could do this, so can you. But it always wasn't like this. See, when I first started, I was clueless because I was never taught how to do aligners in dental school. I was always struggling to figure out how to offer it as efficiently as possible without causing harm to my patients. I spent over 1,000 hours, tried several strategies, and I watched countless webinars. Found out more ways how to do this procedure the wrong way before I figured out how to do it the most predictable and profitable way. And I'm gonna save you the thousands of hours and the battle scars just to tell you the 5 mistakes that guarantee you will lose money with aligners and how to avoid them entirely. Now, when someone starts off with aligners, it isn't all roses. The most common mistakes that guarantee unprofitability are choosing never-ending cases, saying yes always, moving teeth wrong, skipping key adjustments, and jumbled appointment plans. So before we go any further, just know this training is gonna work for all aligner brands. It doesn't matter if you're using Invisalign, SureSmile, ClearCorrect, Candid, Spark, OrthoFX. Take the principles and apply them. That's all you have to do for this to work. Now, when I first started off with aligners, I came out of the gates hot and I made the biggest mistake that almost every dentist makes. I took on a case that was way out of my league, mainly because I didn't know any better. It sucked up so much chair time that I was losing money by doing this case, which is everyone's nightmare and my reality. And this is the case. This patient wanted to improve the crowding and fix the deep bite because she said that she wanted to see more of her bottom teeth whenever she smiled. I said, sure, let's do it. So let's go through this together and I'm gonna point out with you everything that I did wrong. Now, this was a deep bite case with crowding, right? The deep bite, as you can see, which is where the top teeth overlap the bottom teeth, was greater than 4 millimeters. And this was a case where there was a class 2 division 1 relationship. And there's nothing wrong with that. But realistically, you can't correct a class 2 in adults with elastics because their jaws aren't growing anymore. So it becomes very difficult to do that predictably. Now, this patient had a bridge from number 13 to 15 in the upper left. And so those were unmovable during the treatment. And it was supposed to just be 22 trays, as you can see there, right? Pretty straightforward, pretty predictable. Well, it ended up taking 18 months and took 5 total refinements. And so while we were able to correct the crowding, which looks great there, we came up short on solving one of the patient's chief complaints. Remember how they said that they wanted to make sure that their bottom teeth showed more whenever they smiled? Well, they still were covered up. And so this was a huge lesson for me. She eventually accepted the fact that we weren't going to be able to actually intrude those teeth anymore, and we both agreed to finish the case. The thing is I told the patient and set realistic expectations from the beginning, and at almost every appointment that intruding those mandibular anteriors was going to be difficult, and I could not guarantee that we could get a lot of her teeth to show. Yet she still wanted to try over and over again. Now, I'm happy that I was able to help her, but sometimes you have to know which cases to say no to, because sometimes they will end up eating up so much of your chair time that you will actually be losing money, and you'll have a patient who's not even happy with the results. So nobody's happy in this situation. And knowing what I know now about improving deep bites, I would have referred from the get-go because that's part of my referral protocol now. Here's all the cases that I refer to orthodontists, and I highly recommend that you do the same, because if you're just starting out, you definitely want to make sure that you are profitably offering this procedure wherever possible. Now, I always refer bilateral posterior cross bites, class 3 cases, deep bite cases greater than 4 millimeters, as well as teenagers, right? I'm pretty much only doing adult ortho. And so something to remember, aligners are like condoms. If you don't wear them, they don't work. And if profitability is what you're shooting for, right? Don't treat teens, because the main reason why is teenagers are not that good at complying. And so if you want a bunch of random appointments where you have to replace missing trays, put on attachments because they fall off, then go ahead, treat teens, but don't say I didn't warn you. The next mistake that I see docs make is they love being a yes man or yes woman whenever patients ask if they can do aligners. And when you have patients all day actively not wanting to be in your chair, and then that one patient comes in and they're just like, hey doc, can you please straighten my teeth? And then they smile and it looks like this. And you're like, we can, but it won't be easy. And then they say, oh, it's okay, doc, I trust you. You got this. I want you to do it. And then so you do it. Well, I fell prey to the same exact situation. The doc that I was working with at the time didn't do aligners, but he had a long-standing patient who really wanted the treatment. So he asked me to do the case for him. I did a consult with the patient and I tried to make it as clear as possible that this case would not be easy to do because of that severe crowding. And I told her, hey, this is gonna take some time, but she didn't care. She wanted to go for it. And so I made the mistake that most dentists do, and I just went for it instead of referring her. And so then 18 months, 81 trays, and 4 refinements later, you get this result. The patient was happier because they had a healthier mouth, but they were definitely annoyed at how long the case took. And I was pretty annoyed too, because the case took way longer than I expected, and it was a roller coaster of emotions the entire time. I found peace in the fact that I was able to help her improve the health of her mouth, even though I didn't make any money on this case. And this is great and all, but it's not sustainable to be taking on cases like this left and right, especially when you have bills to pay. So don't make this a habit. The third mistake that docs make are moving teeth that they shouldn't. And I say this because aligners are a tool, and with any tool, it has its limitations and uses. And a simple comparison here is a screwdriver. So would using a screwdriver be efficient at hammering a screw into the wall? I get it. You could probably take the end of the screwdriver and just use brute force to hammer that in, but that's not what it was made to do, right? It was made to screw the screw. And so the same thing goes with aligners. It's plastic trays trying to move teeth in solid bone. They can get the job done, but not for every tooth in the same way. So where am I getting at here? I'm getting at molar movement. Moving molars with aligners are not predictable to do so when starting out. My advice, don't move them unless they're lingually tilted and you're trying to upright them. And definitely don't try to buccally translate them either or rotate them or any of that. Just leave them be. See, when you see molar movement like this on the tooth movement table with your cases, just kindly request them to remove the molar movement, and this will create a chain reaction of other movements in the rest of the dentition. But those movements will be much more predictable and save you a lot of headache and chair time. And I did this on a case. There was molar movement planned for expansion, as you can see here. However, the movement didn't actually happen. You can see the molars didn't move, right? The premolars did, but the molars stayed virtually the same. And so we ended up getting a fantastic result. But you can say I got lucky, right? But again, this was an early case I did before I had any of my protocols in place. And cases end up like this. And this is why so many docs are doing aligners right now that don't actually know what they're doing. They're getting results sometimes, but it's not as predictable as they'd like. And if that's you, I know you aren't telling your patients that, but don't worry, your secret is safe with me. On that topic, the next biggest mistake that docs make is they just assume that the plan that comes back from the system is the one that they should do. Never, never, never approve the first treatment plan that you get back whenever you submit a case. If you do that, you are guaranteeing yourself a nightmare case. You have to make modifications to your case. I know. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just submit a case, all the work is done for you, and then you just click accept? Well, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. You have to assess your treatment plans, look at the movements that are happening, and really know what is predictable and what's not, and then eliminate the movements that are not predictable. And whenever you're talking to the techs, keep your messages short and to the point. I made the mistake of not being concise with my messaging whenever I was putting in modification requests with the tech, and that just confused the tech. The reason why it confused them is because English is not their first language. Most of these techs for these aligner companies live in different countries, and English is a second language for them. So when you're communicating to these techs, use bullet form, short, efficient, concise sentences, and that's it. So all these mistakes that I've been telling you all add up to the fact that most docs, when starting out, they don't have a protocol. And when there's no protocol, this sets the stage for disaster to strike at random. One of those cases are the dreaded posterior open bites. I fell prey to this, right? I got a posterior open bite in one of my first 20 cases, and I made an entire video on it right up here on how you can troubleshoot posterior bite cases and exactly what happened with me. Now, The next mistake I'm going to share with you is one that is bigger than just you. It's the one that your team makes as well. And it isn't any of your guys' fault. It's the fact that none of you were actually taught how to schedule patients efficiently for aligner treatment. And when scheduling is inefficient, the patient experience and profitability plummets. And the biggest mistake when scheduling is that come back for a consult appointment. It's the biggest waste of time and adds an entire hour of chair time when it's just not necessary. So have you ever talked to a patient during a hygiene exam, had a conversation with them about aligners and how it could benefit them? They're excited, and then you say, cool, we'll send your scan off to the lab, we'll get a video walkthrough of the case, then we can have you back when it's ready and we can go through it together step by step and I can answer any question that you may have. How many of you guys do this? I bet a lot of you guys watching this right now are doing that. This is not a good use of your time. Stop doing it. The patient is ready to go. You can close them right then and there. It's called a same day start, and it's the same concept as same day dentistry. You had the conversation, they were ready to go. You just need to get them to your treatment coordinator so that way they can get their finances in order, and then they start treatment and you'll see them again in 4 to 5 weeks when the trays are ready. And if the patient ever asks you, okay, well, how long is the treatment going to be? Just give them an estimate. Say it's going to be 6 to 8 months. They don't need an exact date. They just need a ballpark. And if you are choosing cases correctly and following this protocol, you can confidently say 6 to 8 months and nobody's going to be upset on the other end. Another scheduling inefficiency is whenever patients are being scheduled for when their attachments fall off. So the first time this happened to me, I didn't know what to do. Mary at the front came up to me and was like, Doc, Jamie's attachment fell off. I don't know what to tell her. What do we do? I remember feeling like a failure. I thought we did something wrong. I thought we messed up big time. It felt like the whole world was falling apart. Like, oh my gosh, an attachment fell off. What do we do? Luckily, we came to our senses and decided to just bring her in. Mary scheduled her for an entire hour just so that we can make sure we did everything that we needed to. And then so the patient Jamie came in and said that the attachment fell out while she was eating and wanted it replaced. Easy enough. So we just took the tray that she was wearing, went through her protocol, and never heard from her again until her next appointment. And the attachment was still there. So what did we do differently this time compared to the first time? Well, when you're doing attachments, isolation and contamination is key. If there's even just a drop of saliva that gets on the tooth surface, that bond strength will be weak and your attachments will fall off. So make sure you are isolating really well. Then use cotton rolls in the sulcus. Wipe the teeth with gauze and use something like an Optrogate to keep the lips out, or even like an Isolite to make sure that the area is super dry. And then so for contamination, do not use the same micro brush. Replace these after you use them in each quadrant because you don't want any of that saliva contamination to go to other tooth surfaces. To make isolation even easier, here's a quick hack for you. I like to work in quadrants. So take the trays that you are trying to use for the attachment template, cut them in half down the midline, and now you should have 4 individual trays that you can work on and really focus on that isolation. So did you know that a lot of docs are making their patients wait in treatment longer than they need to be? This directly increases chair time and makes profitability plummet. If you make this one change, you can save about 2 months of treatment for your patients and still get a great result. So regardless of what you've been taught or what you know, the wear time for most major aligner brands is 7 days. That's it, 1 week, not 10 days, not 14, 7. The reason why, because the default amount of movement per tray is going to be right around 0.25 millimeters. And you can adjust this setting in your clinical preferences, but 0.25 is standard, and wearing trays for 7 days at a time is safe for this speed of movement. So if you're gonna have patients wearing trays longer than 7 days, go ahead and double check your settings and know that you can cut it down to 7. If treatment is 20 trays and you have 10 days of wear time between the trays, that's 200 days. If it's 7 days of wear time, that's only 140. So you save 60 days or 2 months of treatment time on average. So I hope you found this valuable, and I wanted to let you know that I am the founder of Clear Aligner Advisor, which is a clear aligner education platform, and we have successfully helped over 150 dentists integrate aligners into their practice who have gone on to generate over $9 million in revenue from aligners alone. We help docs through one of our 2 paid training programs, Aligner Blueprint, which is our core curriculum online program, as well as Aligner Launchpad, which is our comprehensive program with unparalleled levels of support while starting and growing your practice with aligners. So all of the course details and information are at this website right here, clearalineradvisor.co. We also have a couple free training programs programs on there that you will see. You can dive into those if you're not ready to invest in your aligner education to level up your career. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed all these pearls. And if you're not already, go ahead and follow me on Instagram or subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can go ahead and just pull out your phone, scan that QR code. It'll take you straight to the Instagram page. And on top of all this, I am the leading aligner educator on social media. I make a bunch of free content that can help you guys start with aligners. So if you want to go deeper on this topic of aligner profitability, I made this video just for you. You're going to want to go check it out right now. I'll see you in there.